The top four receiving threats for the Ravens include Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Rashod Bateman, and Isaiah Likely. Looking at this offense, though, it's not clear who's going to be the number one target. It could be Zay, or it could be Andrews. But when it comes to who the number three target is, I think that's more interesting. We know that Andrews is going to get his targets, and we know that Zay will get his. But who gets the number three shares of the passing targets? Is it Isaiah Likely, or is it Rashod Bateman? This is an important discussion, I think, because we haven't seen Rashod Bateman being consistently used in Todd Monken's offense yet, and while we did get a heavy dose of Isaiah Likely down the stretch last year, that was mainly due to Mark Andrews being out. Earlier in the season, while Mark and Isaiah were healthy, Isaiah was not nearly as involved. So with everyone being healthy, who is more involved in this passing offense? That's going to be our topic of discussion today. Let's get to it. Welcome in, everyone. This is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report, and I think if you ask the fan base who should get more looks in this offense right now, their answer would be Likely. Most likely. And to be honest, I can't blame them. When you look at the body of work that Isaiah Likely has produced when given the opportunity, he's shown that he's an extremely valuable asset to this offense. Regardless of whether he gets the third or fourth largest portion of targets on the offense in 2024, he absolutely needs to be more involved regardless of whether Andrews is on the field or not. But I also think it's fair to look at the usage of Bateman and throw in the question of how many looks did he really get last year? The topic of his yards of separation, as well as his inconsistent chemistry with Lamar Jackson, both need to be parts of that conversation for sure. But how often did Lamar's eyes come Bateman's way? How often was Bateman really in consideration for Todd Monken's play calling? We know that when Mark Andrews went down, Isaiah Likely became a top 3 read on almost every passing play, with the majority being the first or second read. But all throughout the season, for Rashod Bateman, was he ever the first read, or even the second? Now, I for one am not going to stand up here and bang on a drum saying that Rashod Bateman never got a fair shake and he should get more opportunities than Isaiah Likely. The fact of the matter is that Isaiah Likely has produced when given the opportunity more than Rashod Bateman has, and I think a large part of that is the connection between Likely and Lamar. So does this come down to a usage by the coach and play calling, or is it more of an issue between Bateman and Lamar themselves? Regardless of whether or not Bateman is getting open, or what read he might be, if Lamar doesn't want to throw to him, or Bateman is doing something other than what Lamar wants him to do, Lamar is going to go somewhere else anyway. One of the major talking points this offseason was that Lamar was going to be in the driver's seat of this offense. So, if that is to be believed, does that mean that we've already seen Lamar making his decision on who he trusts more? I would be curious to see, in a vacuum, who Lamar picks to throw to more between Bateman or Likely. Now, obviously, that vacuum doesn't work for this discussion because so much of the decision on where to go with the ball and what read Lamar checks to is highly dependent upon the situation that they're in. But then we have also seen that Bateman and Likely fill somewhat of a similar role as far as where they are on the field making receptions. As I discussed in my video on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely being on the field at the same time, Isaiah Likely is not necessarily a traditional tight end when it comes to route running and his usage as a receiver in the offense. So, while fulfilling a different role than Mark Andrews, does he, in fact, take away opportunities for Bateman when he's on the field? The question that I think really has to be asked here is, who has the higher ceiling between Bateman and Likely when it comes to what they can provide for the offense? As I just said, I think for some aspects within the offense, Isaiah Likely and Rashod Bateman fill a somewhat similar niche, but at the same time, they're different enough that I don't see them as interchangeable. For example, I would rather have Likely going over the middle more often than Bateman, but on the other side of that, I don't believe that Likely is exactly built to take the top off of a defense in the same way that Bateman can. While I will of course be interested to see who gets more reps and who has more success during camp and preseason, there really is just no way to tell until the season starts who's going to have more of a role and thus more of an impact on this offense between Bateman and Likely. Because even in camp, many of the scenarios that these players are in are constructed and crafted specifically by the coaching staff. Only when we get in a game during the season will we truly be able to see what opportunities these players will get during the season. So, I just wanted to make this short video to get my thoughts out and see what you guys also thought about who the Ravens see as their third receiving threat behind Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. If you enjoy the video, please leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below who you think the third receiving option will end up being for the Ravens in 2024. As always, guys, stay safe out there, and go Ravens.